I was sitting in the garden one day in the summer, and it was lovely and sunny, and I was just sort of sat there doing a little bit of sort of gentle meditation, nothing too heavy. And I just kind of heard this voice saying, manifest with colour. And that sort of was just like, oh, what's that? And then the word chromagic popped into my head, and I was like, oh, I like that. What? And then so then I was just like, oh, what? So that means, yeah, I could use the whole colour, manifesting, blah, blah, blah. And I started sort of just diving into colour therapy and, looking at all the different ways that you can incorporate colour into your sort of manifesting rituals.
Hi, EnvisionAirs. It's Nicole here. Welcome to the EnvisionAir podcast. This is the podcast where we envision living our best lives by exploring everyday topics related to health, wealth, and community. On today's episode, we have Kerry Hussain, who is an intuitive artist and founder of Art for the Soul. Kerry creates paintings with purpose, which are intended to be used as a tool for mindfulness, meditation, and manifesting practices. Kerry uses color therapy to help people heal from past traumas and manifest their true intentions. Kerry is regularly invited to speak on color psychology and chromotherapy and has been featured in several magazines, including Psychology, Natural Health, Women's Fitness, and Soul and Spirit. And her art has been featured in Real Homes and 25 Beautiful Homes magazines. So today, Kerry is going to be joining us to speak about her journey of using color to heal her own childhood trauma, and also how we can use color as a tool to heal and manifest intentionally. So, Kerry, very, very warm welcome to the EnvisionAir podcast. I'm super excited to have you on.
Thank you very much. What a lovely intro. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, I'm so impressed with your background, and it's so interesting to have. This is such a I think it's really becoming a very more mainstream topic, and I'm so excited we have an expert to come on and talk to us about this. So
cool. Wow. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So as I was preparing for this episode, I read that you always had a love for art as a child, and then life happened, as it does for so many of us. And it seems that you were disconnected from part of this for a while until you reconnected with it during a very difficult time in your life. Can you share a little bit about your journey to rediscovering your passion?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, the artwork that I do now, the sort of abstract style of art, is quite new. I've only really been doing that style for about 4 or 5 years. And yes, I was always artistic as a child. I used to love drawing. I would just sit in my room for hours just drawing pencil portraits of all my favorite pop stars and celebrities of the time back in the 90s.
Nice.
So yeah, but I've realized since going through this healing journey that that was kind of my way of coping with a lot of the trauma that was going on at the time. My parents split up when I was I think 7 or 8, and it was a very acrimonious divorce, and then that obviously led on to other traumas as well. I don't really want to go into it too much, but several childhood traumas. My dad suffered with poor health, and yeah, it was just a really sort of traumatic time. But I didn't realize it at the time. I think it's only later on that I've sort of rediscovered it. And so yeah, going from that to creating abstracts is kind of something I never thought I would do. But it's all come about as part of my healing journey. Basically what happened was I spent a lot of my 30s depressed and just not really knowing why. On paper everything seemed great. I had a good job. I was living in a part of London where I'd always wanted to live. It was like had good friends. I was married. It was all, on paper, it seemed perfect. And I just couldn't, I was like, why do I feel so miserable? And it kind of all just came crashing down in 2014. There was some stuff in the news at the time that triggered a lot of repressed emotions in me, and I suddenly had all this stuff just come to the surface, and from my childhood. And at the same time, my marriage was kind of falling apart, and it all just kind of compounded and broke down all at the same time. And unfortunately, it got worse before it got better. So I spent the next sort of 4 or 5 years just spiraling into a lot of toxic behavior, drugs, alcohol, that kind of thing, a lot of bad situations, surrounding myself with the wrong kind of people. And it kind of came to a head, really. I'd started meditating in about 2018, just as a way of trying to sort of get some kind of control over everything that was happening. And that sort of started me a little bit on this spiritual journey. That was kind of my dark night of the soul period, I suppose, if you want to go that far. But the meditation then got stronger and stronger, and one day I was just like, what can I do? And I was somehow guided back to painting, because it was something that I had enjoyed as a child, and it kind of brought me that peace and solace in amongst all the chaos when I was younger. I just sort of started dabbling again, and it was lockdown really in 2020 when everything stopped, and that was kind of my savior really, because it meant I had to cut off all the people that were no good for me, and I had to stop all the toxic behavior. There was nothing else to do, and
Yeah.
so I just threw myself into painting
Wow.
throughout that time. I live on my own, so there was nothing being stuck indoors all day on my own. It was not a lot else to do, and I thought, well, I'm just going to paint, and I just painted my emotions basically, and painted my way through, and it became a real healing kind of process and a therapeutic process for me. Um, and so that kind of set me on a path to explore more about why art has that kind of effect on people, because I'd heard of art therapy, and I obviously knew it gave me so much sort of calm and peace. And
Hmm.
I wanted to just sort of explore the connection between art and meditation. And yeah, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, as you do. And discovered that there are all sorts of connections between art and meditation. And it's not even just creating art, you can get the same benefits from just looking at art. And so that was sort of the point where I decided, right, this is what I want to do. I want to use my artwork to be able to then help other people
Yeah.
who may be suffering, who perhaps aren't creative or don't see themselves as creative or don't want to create their own art. They
Hmm.
can benefit from the sort of calming, peaceful artwork that I then started to create. I mean, if you go back and look through my gallery on my website, you can kind of see the journey really, because it all kind of started off quite dark and moody and stormy, and it's all just gradually got lighter and lighter and lighter up to the present day. So it's
Amazing.
been an interesting journey. My style's changing all the time.
Right.
My general palette is neutrals. I love working with neutrals, but then I was exploring with color,
Hmm.
and I do love color. It's just I find it very. I've noticed I find it very hard to work with, for,
Hmm.
for reasons I'm not quite sure. I haven't quite worked out why,
Yeah.
but I always gravitate to working with neutrals, and I just find it flows so much easier when I work with neutral colors.
Well, on that point, I did go on your gallery and it was beautiful. And I like how you had them in different categories. So you had, I think,
Mm.
mindfulness, and then what's the neutrals one? So it's
So the
mindfulness,
neutrals is the meditation collection. So that's
meditation.
yeah, that's all really sort of calm and soothing, and just neutral kind of tones,
Yes.
warm neutrals.
Yeah.
And this all came about as well because I wanted to use color, but I wasn't sure how to fit it in with the neutral stuff. It kind of just didn't sit together because it was, I find what I discovered is that my style changes weirdly when I'm working with color. I use a completely different style. And so I thought, well, how this doesn't really work if I put them all together, and I had to find a way of splitting them up. And I just was like, oh yeah, mindfulness, meditation, manifesting. And because those are the three sort of pillars. Um, and yeah, so I separated the more colourful pieces are now part of the mindfulness collection because they're more layered, more colourful, and you can really sort of use them to be in the present moment, and study them.
Yeah, and I think when I looked at the manifestation one, that was beautiful too, because you have so many rich colors, these greens, these vibrant colors, with the gold and just absolutely stunning. I really enjoyed how you did that.
Thank
And
you. Yeah.
yeah. And so how did you, I know we thank you for sharing about the journey. And it seems like one of the pivotal moments was the meditation in 2018 that you discovered. How did you discover that? Was it someone who advised you to do that, or is it?
I yeah, kind of two things really. I'd sort of heard things about it. It was just, I think it was kind of just at that point where it was just starting to become a lot more mainstream, and I sort of just thought, oh, I'll give it a go. I don't really know what it will do or anything like that. And then around about the same time, a colleague of mine um, recommended a book called, I think it's called How to Solve Our Human Problems, and it's by a Buddhist monk, I think, I think a Chinese Buddhist monk. I've sort of cited it as the book that changed my life, really, because it just made so much sense, and I was just like, oh yeah. And it talks about meditation a lot in that book, and I sort of put the two together, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is great, I love it. And it just, yeah, again, it just kind of brought me so much peace, and just, even without any kind of expectations of what I wanted from it, it was just nice to just sort of sit with myself in silence and stillness, um, and just, just relax really, and switch off from everything.
Do you know what's funny? It's like my mom a few years ago recommended I do the meditation as well when I was going through a really rough time at work, so stressful. And it was really, and then my dad's health was deteriorating at the time. And honestly, that changed my life, the meditation. But I will say that I had some past trauma as well from like my adolescence. And for a long period of time, I couldn't be alone in the quietness of it all. It's almost like it really gave me more anxiety because I would have to face a lot of the stuff, the trauma that I hadn't had the tools, the therapy, the whatever, the external stuff to actually deal with it. But it wasn't until I would say later in life when I dealt with a lot of the trauma, um, that meditation I found was like game changing, like completely changed my life.
I
So,
think, yeah, that was my thing as well, because I'd done sort of 3 or 4 years of counselling
yes.
prior to that
Yeah.
already, so I'd already got a lot of the stuff out,
Yes.
so it
Yes.
wasn't quite as scary
Yeah.
sitting with your own demons.
You're like,
But
ah, no.
yeah, but I started, I just Googled, and I think I found some on YouTube, and the first one that came up actually was the Bob Proctor one. I don't know if you've heard of
Oh,
Bob
yeah.
Proctor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I love him.
yeah. And so it
Canadian.
was his abundance meditation, I think, that came up
Yes.
first. And I thought, oh,
Yes.
I'll try that. And then from that, then I discovered Vishen Lakiani from
Yes.
Mind Valley.
Yes. Love him. Yeah.
And I Googled him, and I thought, oh, what's this all about? And then I started doing the 6 phase meditation of his
Yes.
religiously, like every day for about a year or so.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and then that's kind of just, it's just kind of gone, the sort of personal growth and spiritual journey has just kind of all stemmed from that, really. And now
Wow.
I'm obsessed. I can't get enough of it.
I know.
I
Me
think,
too.
yeah,
Me
I think
too.
I've pretty much read every single book there is out there.
We're gonna have to exchange some book ideas offline.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so, okay, so how did you actually like discover the power of color to heal yourself and then subsequently others?
Okay, so that's kind of that's a relatively new thing for me. That's only come about this year, really. So that stemmed from the manifesting sets that I was creating as part of my gallery, and again, it was more about diving into the sort of color psychology and how you can use color to help you manifest, and the effects it has on you. Um, and when I had a stand at the Mind Body Spirit Festival in London in May, and the manifesting sets were very popular. So I sort of was thinking, oh, there's something in this, and so I started sort of thinking about it a little bit more. And over the summer, I knew I wanted to do something around it, but I wasn't quite sure what and how to sort of grow it and make it bigger. And this is really strange because this might sound a little bit weird.
No, tell us.
um, but I was sitting in the garden uh, one day in the summer, and it was lovely and sunny, and I was just sort of sat there doing a little bit of sort of gentle meditation, nothing too heavy. And I just kind of heard this voice saying, manifest with color. And that sort
Wow.
of was just like, oh, what's that? And then the word chromagic popped into my head.
Are you serious?
And yeah, and I was like, I like that. What? And then so then I was just like, oh, what? So that means, yeah, I could use the whole color manifesting, blah, blah, blah. And I started sort of just diving into color therapy, and looking at all the different ways that you can incorporate color into your sort of manifesting rituals, and yeah, just really going deep. So the last sort of 6 months or so, I've just been researching and just learning everything I can, really, because I always knew I wanted to work somehow with color and with paint. I've always loved seeing color. I used to love it when um, we had a new term at school, and I'd get all my new pencils, and they'd be all brand new and sharp and in the right color order. And I love going to DIY shop. This sounds really sad. I love going to DIY shops and just looking at all the paint charts, because I just get so inspired by all the different paint colors that there are out there. And so for a long time, I sort of thought, oh, maybe I'm supposed to do something with like interior design or something like that, because I was always interested in that as well. And I did go down that route for a little while, and I've done a lot of like interior styling and home staging. But I kind of sort of it wasn't the whole interior stuff I was interested in. It was just the paint colors. And so that having that sort of chromagic inspiration has now given me that link between using color and the sort of more spiritual, esoteric side of things as well. So it
Oh, I love that. That's
feels
amazing.
great.
Well, I love the universal download that you got for
Yes.
Chromagic. I absolutely love that. I love a good universal download. I'm always like, tell me
Mm,
more. What should I do? Anyway, so that's really cool. And then yeah, and I love that you then sort of dove into it and started researching it. And now like you're creating these
mm,
beautiful manifesting sets that obviously we'll link to and people can check out. But so tell us, okay, before we get into that and how let's talk about color therapy a little bit.
mhm.
I know you, well, I've done a little bit of research into it, and I think I understand that it helps people to either heal or can manifest their own their own intentions, if you will. But how do
Yeah.
you define color therapy if someone's never heard of this before? And what are the key principles?
So I've kind of put my own spin on it, really. In a traditional sense, I think it's about using coloured light. So you sort of project coloured light onto the body, and it's the energy and the frequency and the colour that you absorb through your skin that will then help to alleviate whatever sort of ailment that you've got. It's a practice, I think, that dates back to sort of ancient Egyptian times. They used to do it a lot, apparently, with using sunlight projected through coloured glass. It was quite popular in the sort of Ayurvedic tradition as well, as far as I know. So yeah, that sort of relates to the like balancing of the chakras, and using colour associated with each different chakra. Um, but I've kind of defined it as it's more about your emotions rather than the physical sort of side of things. So I'm using it to sort of help you to either embody the emotions that you want to feel and amplify those emotions to then help you to manifest whatever it is that you're wanting to manifest. Because the key to manifesting really is feeling, and it's about being in that energy of whatever it is that you're trying to manifest. So, for example, if you're trying to sort of manifest love and a soulmate or something like that, you need to be that energy of love, and having lots of pink and red and orange tones around you will then help you to sort of embody that emotion and that feeling. So that's kind of my take on it, really.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. And I assume that even like having the colors around is maybe one part of the piece, but like as you said, feeling it and really intentionally focusing on it is probably also another part. Is that right?
Yeah, I think because color, it carries an energy and a frequency, and and so we can absorb those frequencies, and then that helps to then sort of then you will then resonate on that frequency to then attract whatever it is that you're trying to attract. That's the idea anyway, I think.
So, Kerry, which colors are the highest vibrating and lowest vibrating then?
You've got your sort of general color. If you think of the colors of the chakras, so you've got red is your root chakra, and then it goes orange, yellow, green, blue, is it indigo, violet, or purple, and then it's the crown is indigo or what. I always see the crown as white, but some people have it as indigo. Anyway, so if you think of it that way, your red is the lowest vibrational color. It's the longest wavelength on the spectrum. And it is associated with quite a lot of low vibrational emotions like anger, rage, shame, those kinds of lower vibrational emotions. And the highest, I think the lighter you get, the higher vibrational the colors are. So sort of obviously white is probably the highest vibrational color, because it's all the colors really. And then yeah, sort of like a violet or something like that, which is highly spiritual. That's a very high vibrational color. But what I've learned actually is that it's sort of split into two. So you've got your magnetic colors and then your electrical colors, and then green is kind of the neutral in the middle, the heart chakra. So the yellow, orange, and red would be the magnetic colors because they're drawing you down to the earth and they're rooting you into the earth. Whereas the electrical colors are the lighter colors like the blues, indigo, purple, that are taking you up. So that's how I like to sort of think of it. And then green is basically kind of a neutral color in the middle.
Right. Oh, that's so fascinating. And when with the higher vibration, because I know, and I know that there's also different colors that can also you can try and focus on in order to, let's say, if you're trying to intentionally attract different things, for example, like you said, love, a soulmate, money, etc. But for example, like if you wanted to attract, let's say, more money, I understand it to be green. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. I was at green, not all shades of green, I would say. I would say probably like quite a rich, vibrant green is probably the best
Okay.
for manifesting money, whereas a lighter, maybe more kind of sage or a jade green, that's more associated with kind of calmness and relaxation.
Okay.
But yeah,
Interesting.
a more vibrant green,
Vibrant
I would
green.
say.
Okay. And then let's say you mix that with the vibrational aspect. So now it's like, let's say you had like white and green. What is
Hmm.
that? Is that basically saying, like, can you start doing that in order to even like take it to the next level and start saying,
Yeah, I don't see why not. No one's ever suggested that before. So yeah, I guess you can sort of mix colors depending on what energies you want to feel,
So
really.
interesting. And
Mm.
then like, what if you like, if you were trying to, this is going to the next level. Chakras, like in my mind, if the head is the highest, then like, what
Mhm.
if you put like something green and white on your, like towards the head chakra? Would
Yeah.
that be even, we're really, then we're like building off. That's so interesting. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously because green is the color of the heart chakra, so you want to feel that energy as well, the energy
right.
of the money, the energy of the abundance and the wealth, and be
Sure.
opening your heart up to receiving it.
Yes.
So,
Love that. And so, how can we now? I'm sure a lot of listeners are going, yes, I love this. Tell me more. So, how can we start to harness or use color therapy today to manifest our intentions?
well, there's a few different ways you can kind of incorporate color into different rituals that you may have. One I like to do is scripting is quite a popular manifesting tool. So I would say, if you are scripting anything and writing anything down, journaling, anything like that, use the color pen or the color ink of what it is that you're trying to sort of manifest. So again, if you're wanting abundance and wealth and luck and money and things like that, use a green pen. It just helps to sort of your subconscious to absorb that energy. um and same for love. If you wanted love, you would use a red pen or a pink pen. You can use color affirmations, which are quite good as well.
Can you tell us what they are? What is a color affirmation?
So, color affirmations are basically things like saying, I am embracing the energy of orange to fuel my creativity. And you can write out different affirmations that use the properties of the colors that, for the emotions or the feelings that you want to enhance. And then again, it just helps your subconscious to absorb those emotions and feelings. So I have actually created a few sort of meditations on my YouTube channel,
I have seen that. Yes, beautiful.
which I'm in the process of rebranding it, so I haven't done any for a while, but I will be starting up again in the new year.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the visuals, sort of using the visuals as well while you're doing that, to
Yes.
sort of then take in those colors through your eyes.
Yes, absolutely. And for those who, I know you talked about scripting, but I think most people would know what it is, but can you just touch on that a little bit as well for those who don't
Yeah, so
know?
scripting is just where you're writing down what it is that you want to manifest, but you're writing it as though it's already happened. So, for example, I am living in my dream house with my soulmate and blah 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 blah. So
Okay, gotcha.
you write it in the present tense as though it's already happened.
And we're using color therapy, as you mentioned, in order to do
Yeah,
that, to script as well. Yeah. And
yeah.
with your visual meditations, which I found I think they're really, really great. I loved it. I love listening to them. Um, do you suggest that they like are fixated on the screen? Because just for those who haven't checked it out yet, obviously go check it out. But it's very vibrant, right? Like for
Mm.
example, the financial one I saw, it was like very green, vibrant. Do you suggest people look at it, or are they better to close their eyes? How do they do that?
I created them with the intention of being a visual meditation. So it was sort of a way of people being able to sort of focus on the colors and the artwork in the present moment, to help them stay in the present moment. For people that sort of find traditional meditation a bit difficult, if they get distracted easily, it's easier if you're focusing on something. So that was the original intent, but as I've gone on and created more of the color ones, they can be used. Obviously you can sit and just watch them, or you can then, you can watch them for a while, and then if you find yourself sort of drifting off to sleep
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, just visualize that, keep visualizing that color in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
just sort of helps to stabilize it and
Yeah.
really embed it in.
We have a question from an EnvisionAir listener, actually,
Ooh.
who I'd been speaking about you coming on and talking about this topic. And
Mhm.
she was very keen. Her name is Fatima. And she was asking, she said that she had an aura reading assessment done.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes, and she was told she has a lot of green in her aura, which is apparently very, very good, that we're very excited for her. So
Right.
she wanted to know what else she could do to harness either her own colors in it, like to bring that out even more, or use external colors, or what exercises she could do to kind of enhance that. And I don't know whether or not that's something that you're familiar with.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the sort of aura color side of things. I think there's sort of with auras, I think there's a sort of slightly different meaning. I'm not too sure. Um, but if she wanted to sort of embody a certain emotion with it, with the green, like if she wanted to feel energized, or if she wanted to feel sort of, again, using a lighter shade of green, if you wanted to feel more relaxed and soothed, you can always create. What I like to do is create sort of a little kind of um, altar, or a sort of little meditation space, using different sort of trinkets and things like that in that space, in that color. So I've got, for example, I've got my abundance corner in my in my living room, which I've sort of designated based on feng shui, and I worked out where my abundance corner is. So in that corner, I've got like lots of little green and gold trinkets. I've got a little green and gold painting from my manifesting collection, and some coins and things like that. So you can just sort of create a little space with the colors of that, whatever it is that you're trying to sort of manifest or embody in that space.
Well, that's actually a really good segue, because we have one more final question from an
Hmm.
Envisionaire, another one. And that person asked how they would use like color or color therapy with regards to their like decor, if that makes sense, like
Hmm.
coming into the house, especially. And I think, I don't
Yeah,
know whether or not that's an overlap of the feng shui or not. Appreciate that's probably a different episode. But
yeah.
do you have any advice for kind of when people come in, and how they can use that
Ah,
kind of color therapy?
I can suggest a few things. So this is where my sort of interior styling background comes in handy, because I've obviously done a lot of sort of research around color in the home and things like that. And I think a lot of people tend to decorate based on how it looks. And I think what you need to do really is choose your colors based on how you want to feel when you're in that space. Um, so yeah, you can. I mean, you don't have to go all out and completely redecorate everything. You can obviously introduce different touches, again, like artwork, or some cushions or a throw or something in the particular colors that you want, or you could just paint one wall or something. But yeah, I mean, different colors have different effects, obviously, and it is purely down to how you want to feel when you're in that space. So for example, for me, my bedroom is white. It's all white because I like it to be nice and sort of just calming and soothing. I find white is probably my most sort of calming color. A lot of people would find it too cold and clinical,
No, I
but
like it too. I like white. Yeah.
so I've got, my bedroom is all white, but some people might prefer a dark blue or something like that. Blue is a very restorative and healing color,
Yeah.
also good for helping you to sleep as well. So blue is a good color for bedrooms.
Amazing.
And you might see a lot of red perhaps in dining rooms.
Mhm.
Red is a good color for dining rooms because it's a stimulant. It apparently stimulates the appetite, which not quite sure about. But when you think about it, a lot of restaurants and fast food chains all use red in their logos and their branding. So there's
Right.
obviously something in it.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's stimulating. So if you're having dinner parties and things like that, you want that sort of stimulating color to keep the conversation going and things like
Oh, I like that. I would think it would be the
that.
opposite, because, like, in my mind, I want to stop eating, but
Yeah.
like not. But I like that. I like that definitely as
Yeah.
a convivial color. Absolutely. And so, and how, and this is my one of my questions is, I appreciate we're talking about in the context of art and your
Hmm.
beautiful pieces. But how about clothing? Like, would you, if someone's listening and they want to maybe start by putting on, again, a nice bright pink sweater because they want more love and so on.
Exactly. Yeah, you can bring it in any way you choose, really. It's entirely up to you. I mean, yeah, if or for example, if you had a meeting and you needed to feel confident and had to give a presentation or something, blue, again, blue, but perhaps a lighter, brighter blue is quite good for that. So you might sort of want something in that color just to sort of give you that little boost. Orange, like you've got on today, is
Yeah, I
great
wore
for
it for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, orange is a great color for creativity, so
Ah, there you
it's
go.
perfect.
So, before we move on to the final segment of the EnvisionAir questionnaire, can we just run
Mhm.
through the main key colors again? So, for everyone listening, because I'm sure you've given us so much advice and so much interesting food for thought. I just want to make sure that people actually remember the colors. So, can we just kind of run through them quickly and what they mean?
Yeah, so your basic sort of spectrum or the colors that you have on the color wheel. So what have we got? We've got, let's start with red. So as we said, red is for it. I mean, all colors, no color is good or bad, but colors, they do have a sort of positive, negative side a little bit. So I would say red, obviously is associated with love and passion and sort of just stimulation, like we said. But again, its kind of negative side would be anger and sort of rage and that kind of thing. So it's very it's very important that you kind of balance and don't use too much of something. I mean, yellow, for example, most people would associate yellow with being happy and, really optimistic sort of color, but too much yellow can really overstimulate the nervous system. So you don't want too much yellow around, especially in, bedrooms or, places where you want to relax. Um, so where were we? Orange, as I said, orange is great for creativity and expression. It's the sort of fun, playful pleasure zone. It's the color of the sacral chakra, which is the pleasure zone. But the opposite side of orange, it can be quite draining. It can be sort of seen as a little bit immature, perhaps sometimes, and uh, I don't like the word cheap, but cheap. If you think of sort of budget brands and budget things, they're generally like an orange. They use a lot of orange. Green, again, green, it depends, as with all colours, it depends on the shade really, but green is generally a sort of energizing, vitalizing. It's the color of life, really, isn't it? Like leaves, grass, trees. So it's a very sort of life-giving color, but also, more muted shades will be soothing, relaxing. Blue, light blue for sort of is a great color for sort of finding clarity, communication, connection, that kind of thing, information sort of, and confidence as well. So again, a lot of sort of communications companies will use blue and a sort of really bright blue in their logos. Whereas a darker blue is, as I said earlier, more sort of restorative and healing. But again, you have to be careful with that because some people could find that sort of blue a bit depressing and a bit sort of it could sort of be a bit overwhelming and bring them down. And we always say, "Oh, I'm feeling a bit blue today."
Mm, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you have to be careful.
Interesting.
What haven't I covered?
Purple.
Purple. So purple is a highly spiritual color, probably the most spiritual color.
Hmm.
It's all just it's just lovely. I love purple.
Me too.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of associated with royalty and just luxury, really.
Mm.
Um, Not too sure of the negative sides of purple, I have to admit. It's generally, I think it's generally sort of seen as quite a positive color.
What's a good one
So
for good health?
probably blue and green, I would say.
Any specific
Um,
shades?
green, any shade of green really would be a good health. Sort of perhaps a darker forest kind of green
Hmm.
would be nice. And blue, I would say not too dark, but not too bright. Perhaps a mid blue, let's say. I don't really know how to describe
So
that
not a
with
royal
you.
blue. Not a royal
Not
blue?
a royal blue, but not a sort of navy blue, somewhere in between.
Like a
Yeah.
blue like this, maybe. Do you think? Or is that too,
Um,
sorry, I'm pointing towards the logo, the
I,
podcast logo.
oh yeah, no. Well, on my screen that looks more purple actually, but
Okay.
um, yeah, I'm trying to think. Maybe like a denim blue.
Oh,
Does that make
okay.
sense?
Yeah,
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 sort of
yeah.
like a denim blue.
Okay.
Mm.
So put on your jeans.
Yeah, if you want to feel good.
Love it. Oh, this is amazing. Thank you so much, Carrie. You are like a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so
Oh, thank
interested
you.
in this. And I think so many people listening will be so interested. And so we will definitely set out how they can hear more about you. But we're
Mm.
going to go to the EnvisionAir Questionnaire now before we do that.
Yes.
And this is a fun feature of the podcast where we ask guests to reflect on their past, present, and future. And so, looking
Mhm.
towards your past, if you could give your 15-year-old self any advice, what would it be and
I
why?
love this question.
Yeah.
I think I would say two things. I would say don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to, show yourself really. And don't hide, don't be invisible. And the other thing I would say is don't pluck your eyebrows because they will never come back.
But there was a time, I think when I was just becoming a teenager where, it was
Yeah,
the thin eyebrows and as thin as you
I
could
know.
go.
I had the pencil eyebrows and I regret it so much.
Your eyebrows look great. Your eyebrows look great.
Thank you. I draw them on now.
Good advice. Good advice. I'm sure lots
Yeah.
of 15-year-olds listening would be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What were you guys doing back in the
I
day?
know. Back in oh my God, the 90s were just crazy.
Okay, so reflecting in the present moment, if there's
hmm
any advice that you could seek, like over a dinner table, who would it be?
Oh gosh, who would it be?
Hmm.
Oh, that's a really good one. I don't know. I'd probably just want to pick the brains of all the sort of spiritual teachers out there.
Yeah, yeah.
People like Deepak Chopra and Gabby Bernstein. Just, I'd love to have spoken to Wayne Dyer, but
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh.
that would have just been the best.
I know.
But yeah, probably just all those guys really that are out there doing that thing.
I love it.
I just want to
Yeah,
immerse myself in their knowledge.
totally. I heard there's a podcast that I listen to, Ed Milet. I don't know if you know him, but
Yes, I do.
yes,
I listen to
yeah,
that a bit.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love him. He's so good. And I remember
Mm.
he shared his story about how he ran past Wayne Dyer on the beach.
Yes,
Only
I
in
heard that.
California, right? You're just
Yeah,
running, going for a morning run. And
as you do. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, as you do, right? Like, and then he was like, Mr. Dyer or Wayne, I don't know how you pronounce it. And then
Yeah.
like Wayne was so humble and so kind and just basically stopped and they sat together for an hour and just talked.
Mm.
And it was one of the most beautiful moments for him. So I mean, I know Wayne Dyer, just so amazing.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
Okay, well, looking towards the future, what's one goal you would like to achieve in the next 5 years that you want to share with us?
Oh, wow. I have grand plans
Yay!
for Crow Magic.
Yes.
So my biggest goal at the moment is to write a book.
Oh, yes.
So
Good.
yeah, I've always wanted to write a book, but I've never known what I would write it about. So this seems like it's the perfect sort of topic. for
Amazing.
me. So that's what I'm manifesting over
Love
the
it.
next year or two.
I am so excited for you. And will it be more of like a memoir or more of like the actual looking into the color therapy?
Yeah, my idea at the moment is to sort of just base it around manifesting with color.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So
I can't wait to
that was
buy it.
that was what was given to me in my download. It was like, this is your book title. So
I can't wait to buy it, Carrie.
oh, we'll have to do
Yay.
another podcast when it comes out.
100%. Yes, definitely. Right. Well, thank you so much, Carrie, for being on the podcast. We
Thank
just loved
you.
having you. And for anyone who would like to connect with Carrie, and I encourage you to do so, her website is www.kerryhussain.com. Her social media, she's on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So on Instagram, she's at For the Soul, is it underscore 11?
Yeah, Art for the Soul _11.
Yeah. And then also Chromagic, which is the new project where she's really diving deep into color therapy, which is awesome. So that's CHROMAGIK. So
Yeah.
Chromagic. Give her a follow on there. And she's on Facebook, Art for the Soul 111. And then on YouTube, she's at For the Soul _11.
It is at the moment, but it will be changing to Chromagic. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, watch the space and we'll
So
put all
watch
the
this
links.
space. So my art gallery is at kerryhussain.com, and all the color therapy info will be on chromagic.com.
Amazing. Well, everyone should go check it out. And I'll put everything in the show notes as I always do. And thank you again so much, Carrie, for being on the podcast and being so generous with all of
Thank you
your
so
advice.
much.
I can't wait to start
Oh.
implementing all the color stuff now. Color therapy, thanks to Carrie.
Yeah, I hope it's been useful.
It
Thank you
has
so much.
been.
It's been
Thank you
fun.
so
It's been
much.
lots of fun.
Amazing. All right. Mwah. Lots of love.
Thank you. Bye.
If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit subscribe and check out this video here.